I'm here to introduce Riki, who's here to show us today about some of the pest control that we're doing here on parks. So this is Riki. Kia ora, Riki.
Kia ora, kia ora. Kia ora koutou katoa, nau mahaere mai. Welcome to another little program based around how we can look after our native ngahere and everything that lives within it. So we're going to be looking at some of the different trapping techniques, both contemporary as well as traditional. Isn't that right, Cara?
Kia ora, Riki. Yeah, I thought today that we'd have a bit of talk about some of the pests here that are impacting our ngahere. And I know that Uri Māori actually brought kiori with them. Do you want to tell us a bit about kiori?
I guess they're not quite sure whether they're brought here on purpose as a food source or whether they were stowaways on the waka. But what we do know is that over a short period of time, once they were introduced into New Zealand, they quickly became quite prevalent amongst the forest environment.
And I know that kiori came with early Māori, and then the whalers and the early settlers brought the other rats, like the ship rats as well, and they did even more damage, didn't they? They were a little bit bigger and like climbing up trees and things like that. So yeah, really devastating to our ngahere and to our manu as well.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Cool.
So maybe we should have a look at some of the more modern traps that you've got.
Yeah, okay, we can start off with some of the more modern traps. So this one here is a pretty basic a rat trap that we have here. So the old rat enters in here, and we've got this rat trap here. See, it's quite strong.
Quite a lot of spring in it.
Quite a lot of spring in that. Just slide that in there like that, and then we place this back so no little kids' fingers. So children, if you see these out in the forest, do not play with them because they can really hurt your hands. So you can imagine a rat comes sneaking in here, and you can just, whoop, and you hear it snap there. So that's just killed us a nice rat. And then you come along, check it, pull it out at the back, and your little rat's stuck underneath there, and then you can reset it again.
What do you normally bait it with?
Baiting's really interesting. It's peanut butter seems to be one of the favourite things we use. Even other rat smells can bring rats to traps. Mayonnaise. I've used garlic aioli at home, which is pretty cool. Changing it up a bit if you're not catching anything, then put something a bit different in your trap, and move your trap around and try and put it up against a fence or underneath a bit of bushes or something. They don't really like being out in the open.
Okay.
So they like to have little secret spots where they can sneak through. And then this big munty one here, this is a real. So do you know what a mustelid is?
Definitely, yep. There's a weasel, stoats, and all that the family.
Yeah. So these big traps here, which are really important, do not put your hands in these traps because these are really dangerous. But these are normally screwed shut, so you can't actually open them, and they're really strong traps. I'll just lift it up and let it go, and you'll hear the big bang. Yeah. So you imagine that kills something.
It sounds like a lot of power.
Really fast.
Definitely.
So really cool traps for your big animals like your ferrets and your stoats and things like that.
So in terms of mustelids, what are the types of things that they're preying upon?
So they're really bad for getting up into birds' nests, the likes of our kaka and things like that, because they're nesting inside trees. So the stoats especially like climbing trees, and they'll climb up into the trees and into the nests and actually attack the birds. And they'll eat either their eggs or their chicks, and sometimes they'll even eat the adults as well.
Oh, that's pretty devastating.
Yeah. And of course our last nasty that we have in the forest, what do you think this one might be for?
I have no idea. Possibly possums, maybe?
Yeah, that's it. Exactly. So this one's for possums. So the possum will walk up the tree, you'll put some bait inside here, attach it in here, and it's got another spring trap like those ones there, and the possum will walk up the tree, put its head in, and bang!
Wow.
And so you'll find the possum hanging from the trap.
Okay.
Yep.
And what kind of bait would you use for possums?
So they really seem to like the combination of apple and cinnamon's really good for attracting your possums. And possums, of course, lots of people always thought that they just ate vegetation, but they actually have been filmed to be seen to be eating like eggs and chicks and things like that as well. And there's even been recent footage of one eating an adult kia, which is a pretty big bird.
Yeah.
So.
I know, I did read one time that possums were introduced into the Waitakere Ranges in 1926.
Yeah.
So that's how far back they go. And they were brought in, so I heard, they were brought in to try and create employment, like in the fur trade.
Yep.
You can imagine New Zealand, without predators. I mean, it must have been such a beautiful place,
Yeah.
including without pest plants.
Yeah.
Again, another problem that we're dealing with today in today's environment.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Anyway, I see you've got one of your traditional traps here. Let's have a look.
So this trap here is it's known as a tawhiti kiore, and it was an unbaited trap. It was set up on a rat run or ara kiore. And it's, you know, which is a method that's still used today. They'll set it up on the trail, and the kiore would come through, and they won't have the rupe, which is this part here, set up. And so the kiore could pass through it unhindered.
Right.
Another night they'd come back, and then they'd have it set. And then when they had it set, the kiore will pass through this little loop there, and it will stand on the horizontal stick at the bottom. Which sets off the trap. And as I said, it's unbaited, so it doesn't really need any enticement. It goes through there, jumps down there, and
woo! Oh, that's really clever.
So pirita or kariao. And so there's a pou whenua, rupe, and whana. So this is a different type of trap. So this is actually known as a koropa manu. So it's used mainly, again, for trapping birds, to be able to eat, for food. It was set on the ground like so. You'd have 2 sticks which poke into the ground through the trap. There was length back on it. This rope would go to the tree where the person was hiding, and he would mimic the call of the birds using leaves.
Oh, is that like that leaf you saw used with Amy?
That's like that,
Cool.
yeah. Once you call the birds into the vicinity, the birds, the lure would then take over, which would be the worms or the uhu grubs that you may have placed in front, and then they'll take over as the lure. So once the bird landed in the front area of the trap, the person holding the rope would quickly pull it down, and because the sticks were at the back here holding the trap still, as long as the person kept the trap taut and tight, whatever bird was underneath it. Normally it was for small species of birds that they were trying to target for this particular trap. They'd remain entrapped underneath it.
Cool. Oh, it's been great talking to you and sharing our knowledge of, both the traditional and the modern trap. There's so many people now wanting to help protect our manu and the ngahere, so it's really cool that lots of communities are getting on board with this trapping, backyard trapping now. Everybody can do something, whether it's something little or they can do it, come to a park like this and do an entire trap line which they can check a couple of times a week, or they can just have one in their backyard.
Oh, thank you, Cara. I've certainly learned a bit off you today. You're using these modern trapping techniques, and it's important that we look after our environment.
Absolutely.
We've got to get rid of those pests,
Definitely.
to make it a safer haven for our manu.
Cool, excellent. Thanks for your time today, and thanks for the kōrero.
Yeah, kia ora.
Kia ora. So thanks very much for watching our videos. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel where you can see more videos like this, so you can make the most of our parks across Tamaki Makaurau. Kia ora whānau.
Kia ora.